What is good, everybody? I am back with a brand new video, and today we have a different style for you. I'm here in the studio. That's right, my studio is my bedroom. Today we are going to be going over 5 must-have slots in your bag if you are a forehand dominant player. Disclaimer, these are slots that you want to have filled whether you're a backhand or a forehand player, but the discs that I'm going to use as examples are discs that I typically forehand, so I'm gonna gear this toward those forehand dominant players. Getting into number 1 is going to be the Overstable Approach disc slot. That was a lot to say. This slot is crucial in the bag because with a slower speed disc, you aren't gonna get as much ground play, meaning it's gonna sit pretty next to the basket. But also, since it is a stable to overstable disc, you can still throw it really hard without the disc just toppling over on you. And the good thing is there are plenty of overstable approach discs out there, and most of them are going to be able to handle the torque of a forehand. I personally like the Zone because I can rely on it for all different types of shots. I can throw it on some flex lines, I can throw it on hyzer lines, or honestly, I can throw this flat dead at the basket and it might finish a little right, but I can bet it's gonna be pretty close to the basket. If you are not already bagging an approach disc, you are truly missing out. This has pretty much become my mid-range. Getting into number 2 is going to be a little bit faster of a disc. It's going to be a straight to slightly stable fairway driver. For this slot, you're kind of looking for the same sort of flight that you get out of your approach disc, although it's going to go a lot further because it's a fairway. I personally think of it just as another club up from my approach disc. This slot is going to be when you are pushing a gap or maybe a tunnel shot and your approach disc just simply isn't going to cut it. It just doesn't have enough distance. You'll reach for this fairway. Personally, I think it should be a disc where you can flip it up if you put it on a little bit of hyzer. If you throw it hard and flat, you should be able to get a little bit of turn out of it. And if you throw it a little bit softer, you should be able to manipulate the ante lines to be able to throw some flex shots with it. For this slot, I've been using the Halo TL3. If I throw the TL3 hard and flat, I'll get a mild turn out of it. If I throw it on a little bit of hyzer, I'll be able to kind of flip it up. Or if I really want to hit a nice little gap, I can throw it on a little bit of anhyzer and kind of have that flex line out of it. Overall, this should just be a very controllable disc for you, one that you can rely on at any given moment. Number 3 is going to be the Overstable Fairway. Most people probably have heard of the Firebird, so you can just call this the Firebird slot. This slot is all about having a dependable fairway that you can throw as hard as you want and it will just not turn over. This slot will be for heavy flex lines, it'll be for windy conditions, or even those skipping ground play shots. This slot is so important to have because if you have danger on that left side, or you have OB, water, whatever it may be on the left, and you're throwing a righty forehand, this disc will allow you to push that left side, but never fearing that it's gonna turn over into the danger. It'll always have that nice, consistent get back to it. A lot of Firebirds are super beefy, meaning super overstable. Personally, I didn't want that for this slot. That is why I throw the 2021 Nate Sexton birds. These are really, really straight, but they always have that nice stability at the end. I never fear that this is going to roll over. It just goes nice and straight. There are so many overstable 9-speeds out there from all different types of companies. So this is just about finding one that really works for you. And for me, the 21 has done that. Number 4 is going to be your bomber forehand disc. For me, that is the Halo Wraith. This slot is about getting the most distance you can and having a full S-line flight out of the distance driver. Here, you don't want anything too overstable. Really, you want something just kind of in between under and overstable, where the disc is going to be able to flip up to flat and then ride off to that left side and come back. You don't want anything too understable where if you flip it up and it starts turning where it just doesn't come back. I feel like it's not often you just go pick one off the shelf and then it's immediately just a bomber for you. That just never really happens for me, at least. I've had this Halo Wraith for 2.5 years maybe. It's been in the bag the whole entire time. It's been my go-to forehand disc. It's just now getting to the point where it possibly might need replaced. If you go buy a Halo Wraith right now, it's probably going to be nice and beefy, nice and overstable. It will not fly like this one I'm showing you right now. And number 5 is going to be another distance driver, but this time it's going to be a nice predictable distance driver. It's kind of like the 9-speed we talked about, where you just want it to go dead straight and fade off at the end, but of course it's going to go further than that 9-speed. Right now for me, that is the ESP Zeus. I can throw this Zeus on a little bit of hyzer, I can throw it flat, and it's just gonna stay on that dead straight line and have a very good fade at the end. Now, I know there are so many Zeuses out there that are like extremely overstable. There's Zeuses that are really understable. You're just gonna have to find the right one. I'm not telling you this has to be a Zeus in this slot, but that's just what's working for me. This slot you should be able to throw some flex lines with. It should be able to hold up in the wind just a little bit, but overall you're just looking for a distance driver where you can push on that straight line and still have a nice fade where you don't have to worry about it going OB or anything. And that is all, guys. If somebody were to come to me and say, I'm a forehand dominant player, what slots do I need to place in my bag? This is kind of the rundown that I would give them. What you're going to find is you're gonna need stabilities in between each of these discs, but this gives you a kind of a rough draft of what the bag should look like, in my opinion. Go throw as many discs as you possibly can to find you the right one. This is gonna take some time. You just really never know until you try them. There's 9-speeds I've thrown that are supposed to fly like the Firebird, but I just didn't like them. And if it flew like the Firebird, why didn't you like it, Max? I don't know. It could be hand feel. It could be just more overstable, less understable. It could be a lot of different things. Maybe that day you tried it, you just didn't throw it well, and now you hate it. It's a possibility. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you on the next one.